Back with another Savage stream. Thanks everybody for tuning in and everybody liking my videos, sharing my videos, commenting on my videos, subscribing to my channel. You guys are really awesome. I really appreciate it so much. I got a little bit of sun today. Went to the pool, so that was cool. So yeah, I got a little tan action. Hopefully it's just a tan, not a sunburn. That would be really bad. It doesn't feel like a sunburn. I think it's tan. It's a little red right now, but I don't know. We'll see. All right, you guys are all awesome in my book. I saw there's a bunch of people in here already, so I think I'll just jump right into it and see what we are going to be going over tonight. Let me know in the chat whether or not the sound is good, the video quality is good. It should be. According to my end, everything, the levels, everything looks good. So just let me know over there. Tag me if you got a question. I don't really watch the chat that much whenever I'm going through predetermined content. So if you want my attention, you'll have to tag me over there, and we'll go from there. But if you're going to ask me something, please have it relate to like what I'm covering, because like I get distracted so easy, and you'll get me on a totally different topic, like, you know, Bill and Melinda Gates getting divorced, you know, something like that. There's all kinds of stuff that I can get distracted by. So on that, see, I'm getting distracted. I knew that something was up in that one video. I don't know how old it was, but there was an interview with both of them, Bill and Melinda Gates, and the interviewer asked them, it might have been 60 Minutes or something. The interviewer asked them something about whether or not there is any way that there could be an implant, right? Like a microscopic implant, either under the skin or in some type of a injection or whatever, you know. And Melinda says, there's no way, you know, that something like that. He's not talking about Bill. He's not planning on doing anything like that. And just the look on his face, you'll have to watch the video. I don't have a link to it or nothing like that, but I knew that something was up, because he was like, you could tell he's like, she has no idea what I'm doing here, you know. So anyway, all right, guys, I'm gonna get back into crypto. See, I got a little distracted there. That's what I do. That's kind of what I do. All right, so last week we were actually talking about possibly switching over the Kajimi rig, you know, the one rig that we initially had it dedicated to. Initially it was dedicated to ETC, Ethereum Classic. Whenever it first switched to, they did a hard fork to ETC hash, and right after that, it was basically the next day or the next night, I looked up, because you can mine it with 3 gig GPUs and lower, and I kind of got the feeling that you know, now would be the time, you know, to pounce on some older GPUs that I had recently seen that were super cheap. And I bought 11 of the P10690s, the 3 gig, and one of them ended up being bad, pretty much right out of the box. I wasn't that upset though, because I only paid $35 each for them. So for 11, with shipping and everything, it was less than 450 bucks. I think it was like 445 or something like that. So I got a 10 GPU rig for, you know, not including the other parts. I'll show you the hardware in a moment. But we basically built the rig for it was less than $1,200. We were mining Ethereum Classic for quite a while. It was at the end of November is whenever we started this whole endeavor, and we mined Ethereum Classic all the way up until sometime earlier this year, and then we switched over to Ravencoin, and we're kind of following along with profitability a little bit, you know, like switching whenever it really gets more profitable to mine something else. Although we're not following that to a T, because if we were, we should have stayed on ETC, because we would have definitely profited more, USD value profit more, had we just kept on mining ETC, because as you might already know, ETC is exploding for who knows what reason. But it's up over, at least last I checked, it was up over $50. It was like $51. That's insane for Ethereum Classic. Anyway, I'll save that for another video. But Yeah, it would have worked out better had we just left it mining ETC the whole time. Probably would have, by now, probably tripled the cost of the rig, most likely. Because this would have been, yeah, it would have been really close to tripling the value of the rig. So it is what it is. We switched it over to Ravencoin. Then last week, I switched it on a Tuesday. I think it was the day after the normal video. I didn't do a video on it. I just switched it over to Conceal CCX. Longtime fan of that project, and this is their month. May 23rd, I think, is when all of the really cool announcements, or sometime before that, should be coming out. You know, it's one of those things. I always there's a little bit of, I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic. Okay, I'll put it that way. I want them to do great. We mine them for a solid year on the shared rigs, on the co-owned rigs. We mine them at a loss for a whole year. Okay, and I was paying out of pocket for electric it was actually more than a year. I think it was like probably 16 or 17 months, something like that. And basically at a loss every month. You know, so I think there was a couple months in there where we almost broke even. But you know, we were doing that to support the project and support the network, that kind of thing. And then also because I really felt like at some point, you know, they were going to hit this really nice stride that they're in right now. They went from down in the 10-cent range all the way to $1. I think their recent all-time high was $1.30 something on some exchanges. So I mean, that's a 1,300%, so a 13x essentially, right? And that was only in a couple weeks. So, you know, it's one of those things where at this point, I don't think that we're not going to sell what we have in our wallets that we mined for that, 18 months or 16, 17 months or however long it was, because I really feel like that we haven't seen the last of it. You know, I think that if you look at the chart, it kind of looks like bull flaggish, right? So it looks like it is probably, not done going up. And we saw what happened with R, Pirate Chain, ARRR. They went straight ballistic and went all the way through from just a few pennies to, if I remember right, I don't follow that project very close, but I think they went from a few pennies to like over $15 in a very short amount of time, a month or whatever it was, maybe even shorter than that, and I'm not sure of their development, what their team or anything like that. I know it's got something to do with Komodo, I think, right? But Conceal, I knew that they had been still working, and I knew a little bit about what they were working on, and that just convinced me that I think that they've got more room to go, is the long story short. So that's why I switched over back to Conceal. Plus, it offers a little bit of variety and content, so we can talk about something else besides Ethereum Classic or Ravencoin, which I can talk about Ravencoin all the time, but I don't think that everybody that watches the channel only wants to talk about Ravencoin. So I remember there was somebody that actually made a comment whenever I was doing a lot of Conceal content last year, or maybe at the beginning of this year. No, it was last year. Yeah, I was doing like a lot of Conceal content, and one of the subscribers made a comment that they literally thought that my channel was the official Conceal CCX channel, YouTube channel, right? Because that's basically all I was doing. All right. So anyway, let's get into this and see what we are talking about tonight. Like I said, I switched over this rig from Raven. We were mining Raven for about 6 weeks, I believe. Maybe longer than that. Let's see, maybe about 7 weeks or so, something like that. And this is just a spreadsheet that I use to show like the profits. I just basically export it from whatever the wallet is and drop it into here. but this, I'm going too far actually. I want to show you the hardware first. So here is the hardware that we are using. And remember that none of this is like financial advice or mining advice, but this video is really good for people that are just getting into mining. It's kind of basic because it kind of goes over some things that you should be thinking about if you're thinking about building a mining rig. Right now, I just don't recommend it because the prices are out of control. I'm not saying that you couldn't possibly, break even on a rig, even if you bought it to mine straight up Ethereum. I probably should do a video about this too, because there's so many moving parts and there's so many things going on that could affect profitability in a negative way, or it could affect it clearly the other way and make it even more profitable, right? I'm talking about EIP 1559 for Ethereum. That's going to be in July with the London hard fork, I believe, and that is a significant change. But we did see something recently with Ethereum where they kind of did this. They didn't advertise this very much, but they increased the gas, the maximum block size gas, from 12.5 million to 15 million, I believe. Those are the numbers. And that you kind of can see the result of that in the Ethereum value when compared to USD. Possibly that had something to do with it. Plus, the fees are lower now, right? So the network is getting more use because the fees are lower. We've seen the fees drop quite a bit. They're actually sort of reasonable now, the last I checked. So that's one thing that's coming, is EIP 1559, where the base fee is going to be burned. It's not going to be given to the miners. But we are seeing the pools implement MEV. I've done a lot of videos on MEV, so you have plenty of resources to go and check that out. Miner extracted value, that's something else that will come into play, especially when EIP 1559 goes into effect. A lot of people are thinking that is when Ethereum transfers or merges over into proof of stake. It's not. 1559 is something different. 1559 is that whole base fee burning and adjustable dynamic block sizes and all that cool stuff that they want to maintain a 50% network utilization goal, and the block will dynamically adjust based on that. And hopefully the fees will be lower, but there's no guarantee of that. It could be much higher. It just depends on the usage. I mean, most of us know that that's how Ethereum works. It's not about how the fees aren't directly related to how often. I mean, it is directly related to how much the network is used, but you guys know what I'm saying. But anyway, so that's one thing. Then there's also the hardware issue. You're going to be paying a huge amount of premium for hardware, any type of new GPUs at this point. Super expensive. Not recommended, just my opinion. It's, again, though, you could break even, but it's risky at this point. And then, people are saying, okay, well, what about mining something else after, July for EIP 1559 for Ethereum? Or once they go to proof of stake, what are we going to do? What are we going to mine? Luckily, Ravencoin went to CawPow, which is a version of ProgPow, which utilizes similar. It utilizes all of the GPU's components, right, in a similar way between NVIDIA and AMD. So they are similar in profitability, the two, right? So you don't have one architecture that's actually dominating like in some of the other algorithms. So that's a good thing. Now, does that mean that everybody's going to switch over to Ravencoin? And if they do, what does that mean? Well, if everybody switches over to Ravencoin, now obviously it's not going to be all at once, right? Some people are just going to give up and turn off their mining rigs depending on their electric costs and all those other factors, right? So depending on their profitability. Right now, everybody's got their miners on. Everybody's got their, even gaming rigs and all that stuff. Everybody's mining right now because there's almost no GPU that you could have at this point that wouldn't be profitable on Ethereum if it can mine Ethereum. So as long as it's 4 gig, I think 4 gig or higher, Actually, no, it's got to be even more than that, right? 6 gig or higher, because I think the DAG is up 4.5 or something. Anyway, so yeah, as long as you got a GPU that'll mine it, pretty much you turn it on and run the miner, and you're in profit at that point, even after electric. So it won't happen all at once. It'll be a gradual thing. And as far as everybody going to, there's people that will try to correlate hash rate and price. Okay. While historically there is some correlation, it's typically that price front runs hash rate. So if you think about from an investing standpoint, you have to have a project increase in value first before everybody switches to it. Because if it doesn't, like let's say that Ravencoin just looks a little bit enticing for people to switch to and start mining, then if the majority of the hash rate goes to Ravencoin without a significant increase in value, then you're going to see really low profits, okay? Because you're going to be adding a lot of hash rate to the network, and the difficulty is going to go up. So your rewards, because you're a smaller piece of the hash rate, the total network hash rate, your rewards will be less. I mean, unless you're solo mining and then risking not hitting a block at all, right? And no rewards at all. So if you're mining in a pool, then your piece becomes smaller because there's more hash rate on the network. So what you really want to see is you want to see the value of a project increase first. You don't want to expect it to increase from the hash rate that's being applied, because that's not how it works. They're not directly correlated. You can't say that because the hash rate's going to go up, or if the hash rates go up, the price should go up. That's not how it works. It's backwards. It's the other way around. So you got to, it's something to think about if you're looking towards something like Ravencoin or Ethereum Classic. I don't know what's going on with Ethereum Classic. I know that it's the real Ethereum, but as far as development goes, I mean, I don't know, guys. And I know that it does not take development for a coin to pump. I get that, but for something like Ethereum Classic, I'm a little concerned. I'm not as concerned about Ethereum Classic as I am Dogecoin, but there it is. So you got Ethereum Classic, you got things like Swap. Depending on your GPUs, I mean, like a 3070 is just killing the CryptoNight-GPU algorithm for Rio and Conceal, right? It just destroys it. A really good GPU there for those particular projects, super profitable on those. So anyway, I am totally off track. Just kind of rambling, but anyway, so this is the hardware, and I need to change this to the CCX logo. But anyway, this is what we got. We got 10 GPUs. Remember, I bought 11 originally, but one of them was bad. And then we've got the regular. And if you look these up right now, like these are recently sold. And remember, I paid $35 for them. I think the sheet still says $39, but I think I paid $35 each. And now they are averaging, it looks like, about 200. I mean, every now and then it looks like you could get one for a little less, but this is from Sri Lanka, so no telling when you would get that if you're in the US. So we're looking at about $200, right? So I don't know what the spreadsheet says. I think it says, yeah, see, even the spreadsheet's a little bit low at 175. The last I kind of changed this. So, you're looking at, this is what I paid for them, and then this is today's price, okay? Or pretty close. So actually we could change all these to 200 because that looks like it's actually the average now. I'm not going to worry about it. You can see the difference down here, in when I did it like 8 months ago or 7 months ago or whatever it was, whenever I bought the GPUs. Now the hardware I had already bought before that, quite a bit before that. Just kind of had an extra rig that didn't have any GPUs in it because I sold some in the bear market, which was really stupid. Don't get me on that. But the motherboard that I'm using is the H110 Pro BTC Plus, and these are recently sold as well. Some of them, like if you see one that's less than, say, I would say if you see one that's less than $200 right now, I would be wary. And you can see right here, if you read what it says, parts only, right? Now, does that mean that it's really bad? Maybe not. Maybe not, right? Maybe it just needs to have the BIOS cleared. Maybe one thing on here isn't working, like maybe the USB port went bad or something. You know, there's no telling. So occasionally you can get lucky, and the card will still, or the motherboard will still work for mining, you know, which is what the goal is. But personally, I wouldn't risk it. That's just me. It could just be something else, because a motherboard for parts is kind of silly, because not too many people are going to be taking components off of here and putting it on another motherboard. So there's not much that you can actually do with this thing, right? If it is bad in some way. So it looks like the average over there is about $300 for the H110 Pro. I tell this story every week. I could have got, back in March, about a year ago, I could have got 10 of these for $35 each. So that was my bad. I should have done that. Something else that's gone up a lot. I think I always show this, but let's see what the Veta frames are at now. So these, let's see, completed items, sold items. So this particular rig has a 6 GPU. It has this one, and these frames were going for, if I remember right, I got 3 of them for $20 each. So I got 3 for 60, and now these are well above 100. So it just lets you know like what the heck is going on here with the prices. I think I have this in here. Yeah, for 200. So that's about right. Maybe 150 now, but yeah, I mean, insane prices. How things go whenever mining's going well, this is what happens, right? All right, so let's look at what we have done here. Like I was saying, I did switch this rig over. Let me show you I showed you the hardware. Now let me show you the flight sheet and the mining situation here. We are talking about this bottom rig here, the Kajimi rig. It does have a high load average, and this is basically telling you that your processor is being overworked. This rig has a, I think it's a Pentium 4400. Go check here. It'll tell me somewhere on here. Yeah, G4400. It's not a super powerful CPU, but I don't think I should be experiencing so much load average, but it does. It's like this. I've restarted it. I've tried, changing the overclock settings. That really wouldn't matter anyway, but I've tried a lot on this thing, and it is just, it's mining fine. Okay, there's not a problem with like shares submitted or anything like that. I mean, look at how well it's only been up for 11 hours now, but I think I updated it last night or something. So it's been steady, and this is that same rig that kept crashing whenever we were running NB Miner with Ravencoin. It kept crashing about every 3 days. This one runs steady on XMR Stack, and no problems at all. So I don't know what's going on, but the load average is basically it's an indication of how many processes are waiting to be processed by the processor. Okay, so the CPU, not the GPU, and it's just constantly high. It's not overheating or anything like that. And if it wasn't using the XMR Stack miner, like if we went back to Ethereum Classic, for example, then this would be fine. It would go back down and it would look like these other ones. There's something about this miner on this rig that just makes it have a high load average. But at this point, I'm not too worried about it. So here's the overclock settings. I left them basically the same for these GPUs. It's almost like this is just going to be your overclock settings for these GPUs, almost on any algorithm, it seems like. I have played with it a little bit. I did not see any efficiency gain by manipulating the overclock settings, either core up, mem up, power up, or anything like that. This seems like this is just what these GPUs take. So you can see the overall hash rate here is about 4.2K. So if we go over to what to mine and we look that up, we plug in 4.2K for CN GPU, 4200 hashes per second, because this is in hashes per second. About 948 watts. I think that is pretty, yep, pretty accurate. I do have this set to where, you know, I went into the settings and added the additional wattage under the settings for the rig under here, so that it balances out and shows you the right amount out here. So this is about 950 at the wall, which is what I have over here. Yeah, 948. So calculate, and there's actually going to be some, now this is based on 10, it's kind of based on 1050 Ti's, which is pretty close to the P10690, but it's not 100%. So you kind of have to, whenever a profitability calculator like this doesn't have your GPU up here, you have to just mine on it, mine on the rig, and then figure out what your hash rate is. And then once you figure it out, you come back over to what to mine and you plug in the values, right? Which is what I did. I just changed this value to exactly what I was seeing for the CN GPU algo. And then you see here, Xanos #1, ETC hash, again, probably should have left it on that this whole time, because the value of Ethereum Classic is going up. Let's see where they're at now. Yeah, $53, guys. I mean, that's insane, okay? And I'll get to that in a minute whenever we do the calculations. So, yeah, pretty crazy. All right. Where was I? What's mine? All right, so you got Ethereum Classic, you got even Flux and Vertcoin are up there. Ravencoin, so Ravencoin's still looking pretty good. And Conceal's way down here a little bit. But this is where, you know, like I was giving this speech pretty much all last year on, you know, supporting projects that you believe in the future will go up a lot in value, because right now we're only getting about between 9 and 10 CCX a day mining CCX. So we're only getting about 9.5 a day, somewhere around in there. And you know, and they're about $1, right? So I think they went down to, they're a little bit lower now, right now, but let's go see. Yeah, so they're at 92 cents, okay? And again, look at their chart. I mean, this is crazy. Go 30-day here. Yeah, so see, they were below 2 cents in April. At the end of April, they were below 2 cents. How crazy is that? Oh, wait, no. 18 cents, sorry. Over here is the really low stuff. Still in April. So even in April, you know, they were below 10 cents over here. Anyway, all right, so yeah, so if we think that, you know, the reason you would still just continue to mine this, one is to support the project in an altruistic way, right? So you're just giving your hash rate, you're paying for the electric, and technically not profiting anything at the moment. But if you think that CCX could go to, say, $5, okay, in a relatively short amount of time, or even in a long time, let's say that we only mine it for a couple weeks or a couple months, and then we switch off of it and mine whatever's the most profitable then. This is kind of like spec mining, okay? So now, if this does go to $5, then technically we mine this one day that we mined, this 24-hour period, instead of mining $10 like we did today, we actually mined 50. Okay, so that's kind of the way you have to justify it, right? You know, this is kind of like lying to yourself, right? But you're kind of expecting, hopefully in the future, that this project will go up in value a lot and have this actually pay off, right? So if you can endure things like that, if you want to support a project with your hash power that is not necessarily the most profitable. Now there's a case where you would say, well, why don't you just mine what's most profitable and then switch over, you know, either sell it and switch it for whatever you want to buy, because you'll actually end up buying more. And that's true, but that is, you have to factor in your time, your effort, all those different factors that come into play whenever you want to just swap, right? So it does take a little bit of time depending on what service you use. And then it's also on a case-by-case basis, because you might not be able to swap to what you want for cheap. And not only that, but the fees might take out what little bit of profit you are actually making, right, above this project. So this project's $5.55 a day right now, and Xano is $9.62. So $4 and some change there. Difference, is it worth, like, let's say that this, now if this stays this way for a really long time, then obviously it would be better to mine this. But let's say that it just cycles in and out to another project, and then this doesn't stay up here like this, then it might not be worth $4 a day of your time. How much is your time worth? Is it worth that $4 to get onto the exchange and go through the process of swapping, if there's no pair, if there's no trading pair, which there probably won't be for CCX to Xano. You'd have to go from Xano to something else, and then from that something else you might even have to go to a third option, and then finally get to CCX, right, whenever you're doing your swapping. So it can take a lot of time, is my point. And if that is worth, if your time is worth more than $4, then it might not be worth it. So anyway, all these things are pretty deep in the weeds, but it is stuff that you should probably think about if you are going in that direction. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so for the week, or actually I think it was Tuesday, whenever I swapped over, we mined 36.9, and actually it's more than that now, because if I go to the wallet, there are 97 in here now, but I would have to look at the actual transactions, because this all started, there was a little bit of CCX in this wallet whenever I started. So I'm going to look down through here. Right here was the beginning, right here. So 428 was the first day, or the first mining rewards was on 428. So what we can do is I can export this again. Actually, let's just go and look, see which ones I'm missing. So this is 5.3 at 807, 5.3, so I'm only missing these 4, right? So we would have to add in, yeah, I can't copy that, that sucks. Wish I could copy it. All right, let's do this. I'm probably triggering people because I'm slow with this kind of stuff, but all right, we'll just put the values. The time isn't too important. So we got 128, 113. And then 107 and 117. All right, so 41.58. I think that's what the wallet, or what the spreadsheet was saying, right? Or the wallet. What showed 41? Now I'm losing it. Okay, well, anyway. So yeah, we mined 41.58. That's what we actually mined. And we are using the Soapy Fresh CCX pool. I think this is fairly new. It's showing 4.3 here. So that's about right as far as the average here. And then this is the address that it's mining to. Oh, here's the payout right here. Total paid out. That's probably where I saw that 41. So total paid. I did start a brand new pool so that it would match. So 41.58 is what we've earned, and 41.58 is what we have in the spreadsheet. Here's the payouts and all that stuff. All right, so that is the pool that we're using, and that's our, 41.58. So now we have to put in the value. So let's go over here to Conceal, see what they're at right now. 92 cents basically. Copy that. Throw that into here. So for the week, it was 38 bucks. That's before power. Power is about 271 a day. So it's not a huge profitability here. And you saw that on What to Mine, right? It's clearly not the most profitable at this time. Right? Well, check this out. So that should have changed. 19, 23. I have to change this to 38.56. Yeah, because we've only been doing 1 week, so we're only going to see the same. We're going to see the same data over here. But look at this. So right now, the current ETC value, according to this calculation, is 48.33, right? But we saw that it was actually more than that. So now we're switching back to ETC, so I can show you that we probably should have stayed on ETC this whole time. So just in ETC, we've earned $2,600 worth of ETC. The rig cost $1,100, $1,183. So yeah, it's almost triple, right? It's a one and a half. Is that right? No, 2. Yeah, 2.5. Almost 2.5. So that's a pretty good return. And this rig was built in November. So we've only been not mining since November, and we've already like more than doubled the value of the rig. So that's really awesome. That's a pretty good stat. And this is with 4-year-old GPUs. These things came out in July of 2017. So that's pretty crazy to think about. So probably what I'll do for next week is I'll clear this out and leave only what CCX we've mined, you know, because this is like not a throwaway wallet, but just a extra wallet, I guess you could say, just for YouTube. All right, I'm gonna check the chat, see what you guys are up to. What is up, everybody? What's up, Cedric? Everybody's like, who's Cedric? Well, that's ABMNS production, because ABMNS is not easy to say. Yeah, Deadwood, I never mind ETC very much. We did for those few months or weeks, 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it was. And yeah, it did pay for this rig, which was freaking awesome. But I've mined it off and on over the years, but nothing too major to speak of. The only ETC I have is what we mined right now. Yeah, and look at the values whenever we first started in November. ETC was $8. So look at this. It went down to $6. And then all of a sudden, boom. And we stopped whenever it's 15. And it's $53 now. I mean, what? You know, if we were still earning, I don't know how many we were earning each day, because this is like, the way this is laid out is kind of crazy, but it was definitely less than one a day. But let's just say it's one every 3 days. I mean, if we were still earning that, that's $50 every 3 days. So yeah, at the current rate. So pretty crazy. So here's our final here. Basically what we've earned on this $1,183 rig. We've earned about $3,000, which is not bad. Yeah, the Deadwood. I don't know, man. I'm a little concerned with ETC, because I think that the reason that it's going up is not. And again, it's one of those things, man. I mean, we've seen projects like Doge that have basically no development, nothing going on, right? No real benefit. We've seen those go up significantly without an actual product, right? And it's kind of what I mean, Ethereum Classic does have I think they still have a foundation. There's still people that work on it, but I just went to their website, and some of the links for community members or working with those type of partnerships and stuff like that were broken, right? So like you click on it and it goes to a website that no longer exists. Those are indications, right? So those are things that you want to look at if you're investigating a project, to give you a clue as to what the forward momentum of that project might be. If, in other words, if they aren't keeping up with their website development or their website with the links and partnerships and all that stuff, if that's falling off, then that's a thing. It's not a reason not to trust the project. I'm just saying that it plays into it. It is a factor that you should be looking at. Those types of small, I run into the same thing with like Ravencoin. Ravencoin doesn't have a great website. They don't have a great presence, and it's one of the drawbacks. But all the other stuff about Ravencoin overwhelms that one aspect that I have a problem with, right? So all the other things, I mean, I have multiple problems with Ravencoin at the moment, but for the most part, all the cypherpunk type stuff of Ravencoin and how it was a fair launch and no ICO, no founders reward, all that stuff, that is what draws me to Ravencoin. And I don't want to ignore all the other stuff. I don't ignore it, but it does factor in whenever I'm thinking about that project, because my initial thought whenever I think of Ravencoin at this point is, man, I really wish that they had a really fresh front end, a really fresh brand, a really fresh, new, modern interface, right? That's what I think about whenever I think of Ravencoin. All the other stuff, the tokenomics and how the assets work and the main goals of the project are fine. They've always been fine. But it's just that there's portions of these projects that fall off, and whenever that happens, whenever you're looking into it, this is just for the new folks in here. I don't know how many people we got in here, but stop, Crypto Mikhail, stop it. So those are the kind of things that you want to think about. There's lots of other content creators that talk about stuff like this as well. Serpent, I think he's done a recent video for like investigating a project. I know that Son of a Tech he's done several videos on like just Googling a project, right? So like you give him the project and then he looks it up and kind of walks you through what he looks at in a project, right? I've got a few early on that I'm not going to mention because I don't want everybody to know about it. So not mining, they're not mineable. So if it was mineable, I would probably do it. But there's a couple that are really standing out to me. But let's see. Yeah, 45 minutes. I think that's enough for me. I always want these streams to be like 30 minutes, and they turn into quite a bit longer. I do have a build video for this rig. So if you are new here, you could check out that video to find out what we did whenever we built it. And then here is a video of it. So this is obviously once it was built. And don't laugh at my cable management. I've had to talk about this a few times on the stream, but whenever there is extreme profitability like there is now with these rigs, one of the things that definitely goes out the window is cable management, because in order to do good cable management on a rig that you just built, then you have to basically, you should power it down, right, if you're doing cable management for the most part. So given the profitability that we're seeing right now, cable management is really low on the priority list. The rig needs to be on, it needs to be mining, it needs to be stable, all that stuff. Cable management, not so much, unless you get like a cable caught in a fan or something, okay? Then you need to do something. But for the most part, as long as it's working, I'm not going to touch them. And that's why like my content has kind of suffered, because I haven't been like working on rigs. I did get that one GPU, the Red Devil, 5700X. I need to probably do some content on that because it's kind of been a little test rig, and I probably should do some stuff on that. But I'm working on some kind of really more in-depth stuff. Like, for example, I think that maybe my next video might be on Bitcoin Taproot, which is kind of intense, right? You kind of have to dive into that and really figure out what's going on in order to be able to explain it. So that is probably my next video. We might do that video tomorrow. And honestly, guys, I might actually stop doing live streams. I might actually, or as many, like not every night. I might switch over to just like production type videos. Possibly, I haven't decided yet. I'm an indecisive dude, but it's something I've been thinking about doing for a while. Because the live streams are not helpful to the channel. It is cool to sit here and just hit go live and talk crypto, but I would like to see the channel grow, and it's kind of stagnant. I mean, yes, we just passed 5,500 or actually 5,500 subscribers, which is awesome, but for a 3-year-old channel that is in the mining space, it's kind of not great. When you compare it, which obviously I can't compare to the guys that are in a whole other stratosphere, but I would like to see the channel grow a little bit more. So I might stop doing I'm not going to be stripping for BTC. I don't have one of those QR code tattoos or anything like that. But yeah, I might tone it down a little bit and do more, those 10-minute, 15-minute videos that are kind of produced. Cedric, Conceal is CN-GPU, so it is more. It's kind of like CawPow a little bit. That's a pretty good comparison, but CawPow is like a derivative of ePash, and CryptoNight-GPU is kind of like the CryptoNight version of CawPow, right, or ProgPow. So they have designed it in a way to utilize more of the architecture of the different GPUs. And in the case of CN-GPU, CryptoNight-GPU, it's really, I think the ratio is a lot closer between AMD and NVIDIA, depending on the architecture. There's a lot of factors, guys. I mean, it's, you're talking 2 different manufacturers, lots of different, what's that called? Generations of GPUs, right? So like it's hard to do a one-for-one comparison, but just know that the CryptoNight-GPU algorithm does really well on both AMD and NVIDIA. Yeah, more GPU intensive, but it does use core as well, so it's kind of like CawPow. It uses a lot of power for sure. Now on these specific GPUs, it doesn't. These GPUs they're fine. I'm not using any more power, I don't think, than I was using on CawPow or ePash or ETC hash. So it's actually pretty good. Yeah, all right. So I think that is going to get me out of here. There's a lot of stuff, really cool stuff coming. The EIP 1559 for Ethereum, that's huge. And if Ethereum is $5,000 by then, USD value, then you'll still see probably the same number of miners, same hash rate, maybe more hash rate with the ASICs that are coming out. But I don't know how many of those ASICs, those what are they, E9s? I don't know how many of those they plan on producing. So a lot of people get really freaked out over ASICs, but if there's not that many, then you don't have to worry so much, right? But if there are thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of them, then yeah, it's time to start worrying. Like in the case of Lindsay, they don't make enough. They don't make enough of those things to even really, make a dent in the hash rate. But Bitmain is a little bit different, and it's possible. I don't know how many they have planned, but with the shortage of silicon and the chips and all that stuff, I don't know, man. I don't know how many they could make, but we'll see. And I don't know how much infrastructure they have to support actually powering them on, because if they have the room, they are going to power on. If they haven't already, they are going to power on those rigs, those ASICs, before they ship the production ones to the people that are buying them, because it would make no sense if you have the infrastructure, if you have the power available. It makes no sense to send that ASIC to consumers whenever you can just turn it on and make more money with it. So that's just the way it is, you know. By the time those ASICs hit, they either have ran out a hit consumer market and you're able to get one. They have either ran out of infrastructure, or they are no longer profitable. Those are basically the two things as to why you would get an ASIC, or how you would get an ASIC. Now, obviously, that's for the little guy, right? If you're a huge company and spending $30 million or $50 million or whatever on ASICs, okay, you're going to get yours. But as far as the little one-offs, the onesies, twosies, yeah, you're not going to get it until it's not profitable for them. Now, that doesn't mean that once you get it, you're not going to be able to break even on it. You might, you know, depending on your power cost and depending on the cost or the value of the project that you're mining. We've seen that with Dogecoin. I think doesn't Dogecoin use like L3s? If I remember right. I'm not an ASIC guy, so I think that's right. There's whatever ASIC they were using, whenever Doge started pumping so hard, they actually became profitable again. You know, so you know, people will call an ASIC, eventually they'll call it a doorstop, but that's not always the case. You know, especially if it can mine more than one project. If it has the capability, because if one of those projects that it mines pumps hard enough, you know, then it can get back into profitability and you can turn it back on and make a little bit. So yeah, my biggest regret, I sold 9 of the MSI, 9 of the MSI RX 580, the Mark IIs, what are they called? I can't remember the name of them now, but the Mark II version, the really nice ones, super well made, mining like crazy. Yeah, I sold them at the bottom. It's really stupid. Really stupid. All right, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I showed you that video. I showed you pool. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover. Yep, I did. All right. If nobody's got any questions, I'm gonna get out of here. I will see you guys tomorrow. If you thought that this was useful or entertaining or educational in some way, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Click the notification bell so you know whenever I go live or post a new video. And I will see you guys tomorrow night. I don't know what the content will be, but we'll see. Stay savage, everybody.